It is a common knowledge that most of the time in our minds we relate media to a necessity tool for spreading the government propaganda. If state actors speak up about current issues, usually they encode a neutral or positive image and stay out of addressing real issues. The famous philosopher Chomsky said it in his book of Liberal Illusions that the main myth is that we actually, as individuals or even journalists, hold power over this media production, because the media was created for us to perceive the political message and not to actively engage and exercise our power.
How can you know that I'm self-censoring? How can you know that
you're
journalists
self-censoring? I'm sure you believe everything you're saying. But what I'm saying is if you believe something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting.
They look at us as passive consumers of information, but surprisingly for everyone, famous philosopher John Fiske was to prove wrong. In the era of information society, we can somehow hold back from media conglomerates imposing ideas to us. This is what consumer resistance theory is about. Theorist John Fiske's claim is that popular culture is created and shaped by the very hands of people, not produced by industry or conglomerates. That being said, we as consumers determine what is able to become popular or what will flop forever.
Wow, that was so powerful.
Modern social media platform TikTok is a great representation of how trends emerge and grow from niche group to bigger audiences. Thus, today we see a growing body of trends which promote LGBT+ friendliness, women's rights, and messages of body positivity. And even if misogynistic content is produced, it is still being laughed at, being outperformed by modern agenda.
Men don't like loud. Men don't like with my friend. Shut up. We women, we also don't like men who breathe.
So, if we are so liberal, how can this resistance become shown in regards to propaganda? Glad you asked. Fiske states that there are two types of resistance. First off, semiotic resistance. Semiotic resistance constructs oppositional meanings from text. The recent case of Oyan, Kazakhstan, in changing street name to Kantar was a brilliant example of semiotic resistance. Another example was dedicated to tragic January events, so-called imaginary campaign Zhimamang Saltao by Adil Ramazanov, which translates as 20,000 excuses. As you may already know, it was recalling tweets of Kasım-Jomart Tokayev associating January events with 20,000 terrorists entering our state. Other banners include writings like "Hit me instead of warning me," dedicated to domestic violence. All banners were placed at the highest top of buildings of governmental meaning. Second type is evasive resistance. It introduces the resistance mechanism through pleasure. You may have noticed that social pages of official media accounts have selection of memes as an entertainment rubric. It is the direct representation of people's disobedience, relieved through sarcastic jokes against ruling power, regime and patriarchy. But here is where another problem arises. If we examine mass media and Badr Jamal closely, topics which trigger resistance are more like a fast food. For example, this case with comedian has gathered 600 comments. And the problem of women's rights lies within far more depth than 600 comments.
Ey, әйелдер деймін де. Неғып осындай ақылсыз болып сен жаңа мойында ми жоқ екен ғой? Ми жоқ қой.
In my opinion, to promote everyday political activism, we need to grant journalists with special power, as in Watergate scandal, where political elite was overthrown by hands of journalists. Only then people will be less skeptical about political presence and civil activity, and everyday problems will be solved on a larger scale.